What's up, friends? My name's Aaron Ciotti. That was the most saddening crash ever because the grass was just tall enough where I had to make the walk of shame. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. You can call me Wangle McDanglebork if you'd like. Happy 420. If you're into that kind of thing, get you some. In the chat, I don't know what was going on with YouTube, but I had to. This is now the fourth time that I've started this stream, and finally it worked. I don't know what was happening. Crisp Taters, Frank Nicholas, Chris Mel, Blizzard, Family Guyver, Rixapade, Josh P, Blizzard, Family Guyver again, Moto Ref, Orga, Grizz, Quadzimoto, Word FPV, CH3F1. or that might be Chief1. Chomper FPV, Word FPV, Joey T, Focus Point, Family Guyver again, Focus Point again, Smooth and Groovin', Crisp Taters, Ram Jam, Northern Tier, Brandon Bentley, Todd Stafford, and Luong Nguyen. What's up, everybody? How are you? I hope you're all relaxed, floating on a cloud somewhere. Family Guyver says it's 4:55 in California. I'm on a hike with my quad. Just celebrated 420. Gonna hang out with the collective. Glad to have you, Guyver. Orga says, love the thumbnail. That's actually a thumbnail I made last year. It's kind of crazy that it's been well over a year now since I started doing this live stream thing. Chomper says, what's up? Trying to get my drone out of the top of this tree. Remember, Chomper.
諦めんなよ。諦めんなお前。どうしてそこでやめるんだそこで。もう少し頑張ってみろよ。ダメやめ諦めたら。周りのこと思うよ。応援してる人たちのこと思ってみろって。あともうちょっとのところなんだから。俺だってこのマイナス10度のところ、しじみが取れるって頑張ってんだよ。絶対やってみろ。必ず目標達成できる。だからこそ、ネバギブアップ。
If you'd like a Never Give Up sticker, you can head on over to CiottiFPV.com and go to my Etsy store. Or you can go to FPV Exchange. This sticker is actually up on FPV Exchange as well. This is my full-time job. If you'd like me to keep going on this crazy journey, I need your help. I need everybody to kind of click a button or two every so often, maybe throw me a couple of dollars. CiottiFPV.com has a million ways that you can help me out, some of which are free, like a whole bunch of affiliate links. If you or somebody in your family or anybody that you know is ever doing an order on Amazon or Get FPV or Oh My God Store, FPV Crate, FPV Cycle, and a bunch of other spots, if they hit my affiliate link before they do their order, I'll get 1 to 6% of that order, and it really helps out. It's free money. You can still get your free shipping. You can still use coupon codes, all that stuff. You just hit my affiliate link, and there you go. Also, over on Patreon, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on. Audio versions of a lot of these streams so that you can just listen. A bunch of really good tech articles on filter tuning, PID tuning, how to troubleshoot different problems with rigs, a bunch of giveaways going on. Right now is a really good time to join the Patreon. When we went over 200 patrons, that triggered a goal. A part of the goal is a full build that's going to be a giveaway that we're going to be building this week. It's like a $300+ build. So if you join the Patreon before I complete the build, you'll be entered to win it. So for $3 whole, you can get that process started and get all the other benefits. Also, I've got a Discord. I've got, you're going to get email notifications every single day because I stream for the patrons each and every day. You're going to get an email notification of when I'm going to stream, a Discord notification, and a Facebook notification just for $3 whole a month. So, 10 cents a day. If all this isn't worth 10 cents a day, I don't know what is. Word FPV says, love what we did with the props. Thanks, brother. I had a creative moment last year. Smooth and Groovin' says, smoke a fat bowl for your boy. Family Guyver says, just throw a branch at YouTube that will get it unstuck from its high location. Ram Jam says, love this 40-year-old CiottiFPV guy. Thanks, Ram. Moto Ref says, Clam Man to the rescue. YouTube just did the thing, of course. And we've got Luong says, I order a lot from Pyro, need to get that affiliate program up. I wish, Luong. I have now sent Serge 12 messages in a row over the last 5 months to get onto his affiliate program. So I don't really know what else to do. I don't think a 13th or a 14th or a 15th message are really going to do anything. I've talked to everybody that I know in the industry that's friends with Serge to try to get in that way. I think at this point, the only chance is if you guys, when you're doing Pyro drone orders, if you put my name down in the notes and say like, hey, CiottiFPV sent me, I really wish you would put him on your affiliate program. He reps you guys a lot. I feel like maybe that's the only way for me to get on there. I've put a ton of time and effort into it. I don't really know what else to do at this point. Absolutely love Pyro Drone, and I'm sure that it's because Serge is just a super, 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 super busy guy. I'm sure it's not like malicious, but yeah, like if you guys can think of something else that I can do, definitely let me know, because I'm kind of out of ideas. Chris Potato saying what's up. CH3F1 says I'm on detox, so I'm not in the cloud. Orga says can't see the green line on your shirt saying gotta know if you on your shirt is saying gotta know if I agree with all the shirt. There you guys go. There you guys go. 05 Alabama FPV saying good evening. Chris Potato says it's funny because I'm doing an essay on substance abuse. Nice. And then June Loco saying, "What's up? Happy 420 fam." Give me a second. Give me a second. Here's something to distract you. Oh, jeez. Oh boy. Oh, this is that little rip in there. I'm back. What's up, fools? Yo, that spot. Very strange spot. Very, very strange, like church camp or something. I don't know. Could be like a cult. Who knows? Who knows what that spot is? But it was fun to fly, and I can't wait to go back there. It's about 20 minutes away from where I live here in Atlanta. And yeah, I cannot wait to go back there. All right, Bob Noxious FPV in the house. 05 Alabama FPV says I live on the Chattahoochee. That's crazy, Alabama. The Chattahoochee River, I don't know if that's what you live on, but the Chattahoochee River goes right through here where I'm at, and I have this really great spot that like every couple days I go to do yoga and meditate. That's right on the Chattahoochee River. It's a little tiny park, national park, and then there's this, yeah, it's super cool. So that's nuts. I didn't realize that if the Chattahoochee River is where you're at, I didn't realize that it went that far. That's kind of crazy. It's not all that big here, and it's pretty shallow. There's guys that there's fly fishermen that wear their little panty things, and they walk out into it and do their fly fishing things. Grizz FPV says, have you flown the 250 from Oh My God? Yeah, I have not, Grizz. I am still waiting for the... I haven't even built it yet. I'm still waiting for the 4-inch arms. I don't really have any interest in sub 250 on a 5-inch propeller. That's just, in my opinion, too much propeller. Great for long range kind of stuff, but I'm a freestyle kind of guy. So yeah, Tommy sent me this a couple months ago, and it's just kind of been sitting here waiting for those 4-inch arms. I also don't really have motors for it, although I guess I could use these Newbie Drone 2004 2400s. So yeah, I guess I could throw this together and then just run the 4-inch props on the 5-inch arms. The only other thing is that this is really meant for DJI. This as an analog build, the big problem is going to be that when you make a DJI specific build, you space the front camera plates at 20 millimeters, and then all of the micro cams are 19 millimeters. So when you mount a micro cam in here, it yanks the little brass collars out of the body, and then it kind of breaks. So yeah, as an analog build, I don't know. Let me actually let me sort of confirm that a little bit though, just to be totally sure. Let's take a quick look. Let me grab a micro cam and slide it in between these front standoffs. Yeah, shims are the solution, RC Ritter. Unfortunately, the shims are all 1 millimeter, so when you put shims in there, you end up actually getting the opposite problem, where you've got too much width. What's interesting is I do have this Micro Eagle that the collar already got ripped out of it. All right, so that's not going to work. Here's a regular Micro Eagle. Let me see how this fits in there. Let's see how much of a gap there is. Maybe Tommy did like 19.5 millimeters. Nah, there's a pretty big gap. Yeah, so I would basically just need to do it and just, maybe I'll just do one shim. No, I guess I can't do that. The camera's kind of hitting there. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I am looking forward to building this with a 20 by 20 stack, though. And I'm going to get some black box logs, and I'm hoping that I can find somebody with an AIO that can do a black box log as well, and then I can show the difference between 20 by 20 proper gyro mounted on board without battery and motor leads connected to it versus AIO, and show how much difference there is in the noise and the amount of vibrations that get into the gyro. I've seen it time and time again in my builds, but it would be nice to put some numbers to it, because sometimes when I explain that to people, they tell me that I'm full of shit, and if I have numbers to kind of back it up, it's just kind of sort of be like, well, here you go. Still think I'm lying for no reason. Freelojo with $4.20 super chat. It's the weed number. In honor of listening to CiottiFPV for a year. Yeah, Freelojo, you and a couple of the other guys in here are long-term hardcore fans, and it is very cool. The other thing is I don't really have a way to get HD with this. Although, as I say that, I wonder if the RunCam Hybrid will fit in here. I feel like I already tested this, and it wouldn't. Yeah, it won't. It hits the top standoff. I remember testing this. So yeah, for me. Oh, I remember what I was waiting for. I'm waiting for Tommy's motors. I'm waiting for Tommy's motors to come in 3500 kV, because these arm ends with the the mount straight. If I put a regular motor on this, for example, look what happens with the motor leads. This is obviously not the motor that I would put on here, but see how the motor leads are going to come off to the side like that, and then you're not really going to be able to fold them down properly. So like realistically, I need to wait for either Tommy's motors or the 4-inch arms, and neither one of those things is in quite yet. But yeah, all that being said, I'm now also realizing that I don't know what I'm going to do about HD on this. Like, I'm going to have to build this as a regular old FPV rig. And then I guess I'm going to have to try to find an Insta360 Go chunk of TPU for up on top here. I guess that's really going to be the only option. I don't fly rigs that don't have HD cams on them. That could be an internal HD cam like the RunCam Hybrid, or that could be an external GoPro Session or Insta360 Go. So yeah, I need to figure out what I'm gonna do there. Drone Pilot, what's up? Smoother Groovin says, why 4-inch instead of 5-inch again? Basically because at the weight that this is targeted at, right, which is 250 to 260 grams, a 5-inch propeller is way too much propeller for the all-up weight. And what you're going to have is a rig that flies like a giant toothpick, and a giant toothpick flies nothing like a 5-inch freestyle rig. When I build rigs that I intend to fly, I build them in a way that their flight characteristics will as closely mirror a 5-inch freestyle build as possible. And one of the biggest things surrounding that is the ratio of prop size to all up weight. So this rig at like 260 grams, I'm going to build this heavy. I'm actually going to try to get this up to like 280, 290, 300 grams. So like, let's say at 300 grams with a 4-inch propeller, that ratio, 300 to 4-inch, is a lot closer to the ratio up here on my glides, which is 5-inch propeller, 600 grams all up weight. With a 4-inch prop, I think the right all up weight is closer to like 350 actually, maybe even 400. But I do want to fly this and give Tommy some feedback and, you know, cash in on a little bit of the hype train and, you know, make an edit with it maybe, and people will see 250 and click on it and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically why. Marcelius just says, just strap a bigger battery. That is one way that you can get around it. The problem with that is I fly freestyle, and when a frame is built to be nice and light here, you get skinny arms. And then if you put a big ass battery on it, every single time you crash, you break an arm, because, you know, this frame was meant to be flown at 250 grams all up weight. So even me pushing this to like 260, 270, 280 is already overloading it. And when you overload a frame, the arms become less and less and less durable. It's why it's kind of really important when you're buying a frame to look at like the intended build, or look at whose frame it is, so that you know like where that frame performs the best. If you buy a frame and then you do something completely off the wall with it and like build it really heavy, for example, you can't expect that frame to be durable anymore. And people don't understand that, right? People do that, and then they shit talk the frame designer all over the internet and say that they designed a garbage frame, you know? And it's like, well, no, you took a frame that's meant to be 250 grams and you built it to be 500 grams. Of course it's going to blow up. If you go buy a Honda Civic and expect to make 2,000 horsepower with it, you're going to hate your life. That's not Honda's fault. That's your fault. So yeah, I'm excited to build this frame, but yeah, I need the 4-inch arms. Once I get the 4-inch arms, I can run regular motors, because Tommy changed the arm end design. This is a prototype here. He changed the arm end design so that there's an extra set of holes so that you can get the motor wires pointed in the right direction. So I need the 4-inch arms, or I need his motors in 3500 kV, because his motors send the wires out this way. And I also need some sort of a TPU Insta360 Go holder up here, because I'm just sort of done with flying builds that don't have HD. Like, I'm not going to put a DVR edit up, and I don't really have the time to just go fly like totally for fun, where it's sort of just for me. Yeah, every time I fly, there's an HD cam on the rig, and there's just not like a specific provision for that on this rig quite yet. But I bet you on Thingiverse somebody already has an Insta360 Go mount for the damn thing, so that should be pretty cool. Okay, chat is blowing up. What are you guys talking about? Rick Zapata says, I put a Talon F7 and an iFlight ESC in mine with two 20x20 TPU shelves on the back for receiver and VTX, and kept it on the shorter standoffs. Which frame are you talking about, Rick? RC Ritter says, thoughts on hybrid setup, 4-inch front, 5-inch rear. Why are people doing that? Because people can't leave well enough alone. And everybody thinks that they can find some little secret that nobody else has thought of before. The bigger props in the rear thing has been done a bunch before. The thought process is, the front props, when you're nose down and you're traveling through the air, the front props, there's all this wind, right? All the wind is hitting, and it goes cleanly onto the front props. Well, then the rear props back here, they're kind of getting a bunch of the garbage, right? This air is getting pulled down by the front props, so the rear props end up having to like pull their own kind of column of air in from up here, and that's a little bit more difficult. So by putting a bigger rear prop on, it's going to pull more air. The problem is the bigger rear props are going to weigh more, so the entire and that's going to slow the PID loop down basically, and then the whole system is going to be working as if there are 5-inch props on the whole thing. So what's the point of having the 4-inch props up front, right? Like the PID loop and everything is going to slow down to adjust for the slowest part of the system, which is going to be the rear props because they're heavier. So yeah, the 4-inch props in front, there's just, you might as well run a 5-inch prop in the front because the whole system is going to get, right? There's no real, the only improvement would be on pitch maneuvers. When you would pitch back, well, so it would only be, so here's what would happen. When you went to pitch back, the front 4-inch props would fire up really hard, but they wouldn't have, so they would actually react quicker. I don't know if it would be quicker or slower, but they would react either quicker or slower in the beginning of the backflip, and then you would come around, and then the back props would fire up to stop, and now that would happen either faster or slower. And then on a front flip, the same thing. So you would actually have a rig that on the pitch axis, the beginning and the end of any pitch movement would happen not at the same rate. You know what I'm saying? So the whole rig would basically be unbalanced in a way, because on the pitch axis there would be an imbalance. But I've only ever seen racers do it. So and yeah, they try for every tiny little crazy thing. And they have they have timing, so they have a way of like actually looking at numbers to see if things are faster or slower. My guess would be it's 99.9% placebo, and anybody who actually does that, they go out, and the confidence that they're feeling from having a secret setup is why they're going to go out and fly faster. But that's just a guess. What's up, Fairly Functional? What's up, Tuner Taxi? Rick Cepeda says, you have the prototype frame. Mine is the production frame, and Tommy added holes for standard motors. Put a T-motor, 2004 3000 motors on mine. Yeah, Rick, that's what I was mentioning about the extra set of holes. You probably said that as I was talking about the second set of holes on the production arms. WordFPV says, can you do a walkthrough on binding to remote? Man, what the hell is happening? Hold on. My nose has just decided to completely revolt. Can you do a walkthrough on binding to remote and connecting to goggles with analog one of these days? I got it done, but in a roundabout way. I'm used to digital. Analog is now new to me. I could do that, WordFPV, although I kind of hesitate to, because like I feel like everybody's done that on YouTube somewhere. So like I try to bring a fresh perspective and just kind of like do things differently. When a lot of like the basic stuff like that, Joshua Bardwell will have like beautiful walkthroughs that are way better than anything that I'm gonna do. So like I kind of feel weird sometimes redoing simple stuff like that, because it would be easier and quicker for you to just kind of look up one of Joshua's videos. I always try to do stuff that's a little bit different and kind of suited to my particular. Oh my God, why? Hold on, let me go wash my hands. I don't know what the hell's going on here. I'll be right back. All right. Hopefully my nose stops being a dick. Yeah. So if you can't find a how-to, I can do it, but I'm sure that everybody's has done that once or twice. But yeah, let me know where FPV. Rick Zapata says, mine came in all up weight at 222 grams. Oh my god, that is light. Holy cow. Metal Dirtskin says, the production frame also has a different camera cage on it to take non-DJI cameras better. Ah, very cool. Very, very cool. Freelojo says, how much does your Acrobat Duo weigh? I still need to weigh mine. All up, it is at 270, I believe it is, with the 1804 motors. They're big, heavy motors, but man, those that weight, that all-up weight, really, really digs that much motor. And the T-Motor 3140s are definitely the best propeller, and they are a little bit of a heavy propeller, so they really dig the 1804 motors as well. Rick Zapata says the 250 frame. I didn't realize there were different height standoffs. How can you even do that with vertical camera plates? Because I think that's what you were saying, Rick, is that you ran a lower rear standoff. And yeah, usually you can't do that when there's... It's the thing that I hate most about vertical camera plates, is that it locks you into a certain deck height. And I just find that to kind of be obnoxious. Especially as cameras keep shrinking and stacks keep shrinking. There is so much dust floating around in this room. What the hell happened? Like, what did I do or touch to turn this room into a goddamn dust hand grenade? Jason Crabtree tagged me and didn't say anything. There, now he said something. He said, saw an interesting video on choosing motors that talked about how if stator volume is equal, the wider motor would be less responsive as it has more momentum in the bell. Yeah, so that's Brian. I've been talking to him on Discord for a while. Is it Brian? I think it's Brian. He's talking in extremes. Like, he's talking about yeah, there's a little more subtlety to it than that, in my opinion. He, in that video, he basically talks about it from a mathematical standpoint, which is totally valid. But in my experience in the real world, there's a little more subtlety to it than that, or I'm just completely wrong. Because on one hand, math doesn't lie. So yeah, I've my guess is I've probably been wrong the whole time, but I'm basing things off of like real world experience and how these rigs feel and how the PID loops respond. So even if I'm not technically correct, everything that I've been saying about wider motors is still perfectly valid because it's based on what actually happens in the real world, right? So yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. I don't know. If you guys want to, if somebody wants to clip this and then make a video that says, see, Ciotti's a dumb bastard and doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, I guess now's your chance. But yeah, I kind of stand by my approach because it's what I've felt in the real world. And arguably that has more value than, you know, numbers on in a calculator. Or not. I don't know. June Loco says, my next rig is in the works is Recon FPV 5-inch long range on Diatone Toka 2004 17 kV, of course. LOL. Very cool, June Loco. And his birthday's tomorrow. Happy early birthday, brother. Jason Crabtree says, could that be what you're feeling on the rip squeaks? Could be, Jason. It could be. I think it's more that the Emax AVAN propeller is a lot lighter of a propeller than the 3028, and I think it might also have a better blade profile. The difference that propellers make, like if you've got like 100% of everything that makes up the way that a rig flies, right? I swear to God, the propellers that you put on it are like 90% of the difference that you can feel, and then the rest of the stuff take up that last like little 10%, probably 9% of which are the motors that you put on it. So yeah, different you really can't compare two rigs when they're on different propellers. It's especially when they're on so drastically of a different propeller. I'm gonna put both rigs on these HQ 3x3x3s, and then we'll really see what's up. But it's a pretty unfair comparison with the one rig on the Emax AVAN 3-inch. The reason why I did that, though, is because that rig can use the Emax AVAN 3-inch propeller, and the other rig cannot. So I wanted to put the one rig in its best possible configuration and put the other rig in its best possible configuration and compare that. Because realistically, that's really all that matters, right? Like, if the worst motor can use a better propeller, I'm going to take that setup over the better motor that we don't have a good propeller for. I'm hoping that we do have a good... This is fucking killing me. I'm hoping that we do have a good propeller option in the future here. I would love to have that be my propeller with GemFan, but absolutely no idea on that. So I'm yeah. Oh boy, this is not gone the way that I thought it would. Fairly Functional says, one of my quads has a weird problem. The VTX tables are set up but no smart audio. Fairly Functional, when that has happened to me, it's because I've had it wired wrong. So check your wiring. Setting up the VTX tables is within Betaflight, and then Betaflight just sends that signal out when you put power to the quad. If that signal is being sent out but it's not hitting the VTX, you're not going to get smart audio. So check your wiring. I bet you that's every time that's ever happened to me. I've had the smart audio wired incorrectly. I've had it like on a TX or on an RX pad versus a TX pad, right? R for receive, T for transmit. You got to have smart audio on a transmit pad on the flight controller because it's transmitting the smart audio commands to the VTX. Rick Cepeda says, I have some pictures of my two FOURty built on my Discord server if you want to check them out. Very cool, Rick. When I get onto Discord later on, I will check them for sure. Although I don't know how to get to... I wouldn't know how to get to somebody else's pictures. I don't really use Discord. So maybe if you can send them to me, that's probably better. Otherwise, I probably won't be able to figure out how to find them. WordFPV says, that's what I'm looking for is your way, not Joshua's, and nothing too detailed, but I can understand. I'll go check his out again. So Word, I mean, there's really not like a different way to do it. There's just basically like setting the proper protocol for the receiver, which is just, it's either right or it's wrong. And then just holding or pushing the bind button, whichever, it depends on which receiver you've got. Each receiver functions a little bit differently, so you kind of just have to read the instructions. And then you just go to bind in your radio, or if you're on Crossfire, you got to do a separate kind of method. And this is sort of the other thing, right? Because like if I do a video on how to bind, I can only really do that video for Crossfire and FR Sky. There's also Fly Sky, there's also Ghost, there's also Tracer. So it's kind of like, if I'm going to make one of those videos, I would prefer for it to be, here's how to bind everything and anything, but I don't have everything and anything. I only have like one of each thing. And then on the video side, it's really just picking the right channel. But each VTX has its own method of, like, some of these VTXs come locked in pit mode, some of them don't. Some of them have smart audio, some of them don't. I mean, there's like probably 30 different VTXs out there. So a lot of it actually is like looking up your specific receiver and just figuring out what your specific receiver's binding procedure is, and then looking up your specific VTX and figuring out for your VTX which pads are which, how you wire it up, and sort of stuff like that. But yeah, the actual process is just bind the receiver to the transmitter, and then goggles versus VTX, just pick the same channel, and then away you go. That's like the basic procedure, but sometimes it's a little bit more involved depending on which protocol you're on the radio link side versus which VTX you've chosen. I find it really hard to make tutorial videos because like I only have like one setup, right? And like it's analog, and it's like I always feel like if I would make a tutorial video, it's just like 10% of the people are going to get anything out of it, and the other 90% of the people aren't going to have that exact setup that I've got. And for those people, it's just like, oh, well, I'm not going to click on that. If I'm going to take time, you know, I want to try to have something that like as many people as possible can get something out of, because I don't have much time during the course of the day. Like I just have to sort of be careful with my time, because it's hard to find it, with all the other stuff that I'm doing to try to get my brain right, on a daily basis. Where was I? Drone Pilot says power lines are a pain in the ass. I saw when you hit the cable. Yeah, I was able to see them. I was able to see them in the analog pretty well. And I saw that one, but I thought I was just going to slide under it. But it was at kind of like a funny angle, and I just kind of came up into it. I was kind of pissed because I was really trying to not hit those cables. Drone Pilot flew his modified 10-inch yesterday, all up weight, 1,600 grams, dual lipos. FOURty cruises at 75 kilometers an hour efficiently. He also says your cat has probably run around stirring up dust and spreading cat scent in the air. It's killing you. I'm usually fine with him unless I hold him. And I actually haven't seen him in a while, so it's probably not him. I don't know. The pollen is absolutely out of control, and I was outside earlier, but I took an allergy pill out. It's weird. Freelojo says, got in a fight with some trees today and managed to not beat up the props. Very cool. That's pretty rare. Rick Cepeda says, my frame came with two sets of standoffs, 15 millimeters and 20 millimeters. I built mine on the 15 millimeter standoffs and kept the arms inside the frame and still was able to keep all my electronics the way I wanted. How the hell? How did Tommy do that? Are there two different camera cages to be able to do that? How the hell did he pull that off? I have no idea how that's possible. I have no idea how you'd be able to use the same set of vertical camera plates with two different height standoffs. I'll be damned. I mean, Tommy is an ultra ninja, so if there's anybody that's going to be able to figure out how to do that, it's going to be him. I guess you could just put two notches, but that's not the way that those camera plates are. Those camera plates aren't notched out like this. It's just a platform like that, and the top plate sits down on it. If it was notched out like this, I would get it, because you could just do this, and then you have another notch down here, and you would just slot the top plate in like that. But that's not the way that frame is set up. That's crazy. I'm into that. What I like about the vertical standoffs is that you can put 30-degree up tilt holes in the damn thing so that you lock your camera at 30 degrees up tilt. That's actually something that I would like to do on my frame. Huh. Or you can just do that with TPU. I think I would maybe just rather do it with TPU. Ryan's gonna kill me. Rick Cepeda says, oh wait, no, we got that. Tiago says, I prefer the 2306 to the 2207. They seem way more controllable throttle resolution for freestyle. Yeah, Tiago, pretty much everybody who I've turned on to 2306s from 2207s has said exactly that. And what's interesting is his name is not Brian. His name is... I hope he doesn't watch this because I'll just feel terrible that it's I'll defend myself by saying that I've always been terrible with names. It's Chris Rosser. I didn't even find the video. I remembered, for the record. I'm still scrolling. I couldn't find the video. Chris Rosser. Yeah, so by Chris Rosser's math, right, the 2207s, basically what his math states is that stator volume is really the only thing that matters for response time. And a 2207 has more stator volume than a 2306. But the PID loop performance with a 2306 is better. Like, I've seen that time and time again. And exactly what Tiago says about throttle resolution is very true in my opinion, and that is what every single person that I've talked to that goes to a 2306 over a 2207 says. It could all be, and I think a lot of it has to do with just like at what throttle percentages power is delivered. When you think about it, like see, you can't... my go-to is to talk about how higher and lower displacement car engines work, but electric motors just work totally differently than that. So yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the actual science is behind it, but it's interesting that everybody says the same thing, right? And so, yeah. I don't know. It's weird. Rick Zapata with the Discord link, very cool. Let me see if I can... Let me see if there's a way for me to click this, but not for the chat to go away. I gotta be careful when I click links in the chat, because it'll wipe the chat out. Looks like I did it. Chris Dilks is in the house. What's up, brother? How are you? WordFPV said that's pretty much all I needed just to kind of hear exactly what you just said. Thanks, perfect, and Crossfire on the main one. Very cool. Yeah, we're just there's a ton of info on how to bind Crossfire. It can be a little annoying, so just stick with it. For whatever reason, I always have trouble binding Crossfire, but just stick with it and just keep pushing buttons, and you can't really screw it up. If you do screw it up, there's a whole bunch of us here that can help you fix it. Rick Zapata says the production frame comes with 2 sets of camera plates. There it is. Very cool. I really like that. Freeloader says yes, please lock 30-degree up tilt. Here's the problem with vertical camera plates. When you crash really hard, in my experience, this is fucking killing me. When you crash really hard, the box here, you know, you can see it. It looks like a box, right? A little box. The box can parallelogram a little bit on like different kinds of crashes, and when this box parallelograms like that and shifts like that, and those vertical camera plates shifts along with it, it breaks the case of the camera. So that's why classically I've been a fan of the TPU loops, just the simple TPU loops on the front standoffs to hold the camera, because when the main structure moves, the TPU loops don't care. You know, they just bend and everything is fine. So I think what I would rather do is a set of TPU loops that have 2 sets of holes. And what'll be really cool about that is the intended use for my frame is with a run cam hybrid. If you're not going to build it with a run cam hybrid, there's kind of no reason to build it. That's not true at all. If you build it with a regular old FPV setup, you can then, if somebody will make the TPU, it'll be a great Insta360 Go and Go 2 carrier. But where I really think 3-inch is just fantastic and not just novelty driven is this setup here with the RunCam hybrid. It's just the picture quality is just great, and it's a 3-inch rig that can give you 4K. I have an edit on the channel called 4-inch motion, and I challenge you to watch that edit and not be impressed, and kind of have the thought to yourself of like, this is as good as a session. I think it's better than a Session 4, but it's maybe not quite as good as a Session 5. But for a 3-inch rig, that is really impressive. The Insta360 Go, in theory, will be better, but it's $300, and it's up on the top, just asking to get demolished. Whereas the RunCam hybrid is all nice and protected in here. So like, this little setup is it's pretty interesting. And the Insta360 Go is never going to be as durable as like a Session 5, right? Like the Session 5 and the Session 4 are they're just this like, we'll never get that kind of durability but quality ever again, I don't think. It was just a very unique HD cam that was specifically they probably spent, I don't know, $50,000, let's say, on R&D budget to make the sessions durable. Nobody else is going to do that, right? Because there are no other GoPros, really. Insta360 is not a big enough company to put that kind of R&D into durability, right? So, yeah, just kind of working around those things. FinFPV says Chris Rosser. Yep, I should have just read the chat. Tiago Ramos says Patio Patterson Tramp or TBS or Rush 3 equally good. CiottiFPV for his Tramp. Yeah, on my 5-inch rigs, I really like the Immersion RC Tramp HV. It's a $30 VTX that in Joshua's testing that TBS bitched and moaned and forced him to take down a long time ago. The $30 Tramp outperformed the $40 Unify in the higher raceband channels, raceband 6, 7, and 8, and those are the channels that I run. So yeah, I saved $10, and it's yeah, I just saved $10. I get a little bit more output power. That's what I was trying to think of. Drone Pilot says little bends in lightweight quads and TPU, but when I hit a tree stump once at 100 miles an hour, I couldn't even salvage wire from the wreck. And I'm caught up on chat. Look at me go. Here, I'll be right back. Hold on. There is a propeller that is very upset. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there was a real lack of thrust towards the end there. Good last battery right there. All right, enough of me talking.
What a crazy spot. Sky really kind of came alive too.
Yeah. Stop talking. Past me. All right, cool. Bob Noxious says, Drone Pilot, I just spit out my drink. Hey, there's a thing I can do. I will cut open these T-motor things and make little bags. Hit me with a couple more questions. I've been meaning to do this for a couple days, and I haven't. So I'm going to do it now. Because we're just hanging out. I didn't really, plan a thing for this screen, so that we just kind of hang and talk and bullshit. Fairly Functional says, thanks. I've probably built 50 quads, and I soldered the smart audio wire to the wrong pad. Brain fart, LOL. Yep. Don't even feel a little bit bad, Fairly Functional. I've done that live on stream more than once. There are too many things. There are just too many things with the way these things are built. And I think it's a really good thing. I think it's a good thing how confusing these rigs are, because I really fear the day that normal people get into FPV, right? I've always kind of danced back and forth with that, right? Like, on one hand, it's like, well, if more people get into it, the industry can grow, and you know, potentially I can make more money, for example, because there'll be more people into it. But at the same time, I just don't think normal people... I just don't want normal people flying 600-gram freestyle rigs with 16 death knives on the ends of the... with 12 death knives on the ends of the arms, right? Spinning at 11 billion miles an hour, or RPM. So, yeah, I don't know. I always kind of go back and forth about that, right? But straight up, yeah, like, building these things is hard. Like, I think those of us that have done more than 10 builds, right? Like, we really take for granted. Like, think back to the first time you did a build. It was scary. It's just like, what the hell? Like, thank God for this Joshua Bardwell video that I can hit play and rewind, and hit play and rewind, and hit play and rewind, hit play and rewind, hit play and rewind. And it's easy to kind of take that for granted and not remember how hard it really is, you know? Like we can all do, like, when we show our friends these builds, our normie friends, and they're just like, wait, you mean you built that? And you're like, yeah, I did this, I picked the carbon frame, I did it. And then, like, you tell them all these things, and then they look right at you, and they go, really? So, like, wait, you built that? You know? Or, like, any normal person that you show it to. Like, it's nuts. Like, you know, the fact that we can build these things is absolutely ridiculous. And it's easy to kind of take that for granted and just be like, I should have done all, like, 150 steps absolutely perfect. I mean, it's just like, I've just, like, given up to it at this point. I'm just like, I'm gonna make mistakes, and I'm cool with that, because this shit's hard. like I'm probably like 50 builds deep, maybe more than that, and I still make this stupid... and here's the other thing, too, that I'll definitely blame it on, is the goddamn manufacturers just continuing to do everything different every single time. Like, there's just... It just never ends. It never fucking ends. It never ends. The like, how far they're willing to go to make their stuff differently, or I'm sure in their opinion better, which completely screws us up, because we're sitting here like, oh yeah, I've built 14 of these things in a row. I know that when I hook this smart audio up and enable the VTX tables in Betaflight, I'm going to be able to just go out and fly it. So I'm not even going to test it here at home. And then you go out and fly it, and the fucking thing is locked in permanent pit mode. Well, what's permanent pit mode? I've never heard of that before. Oh, let me go on the internet. Look, there's no info about it because this is a brand new Rush Tiny Tank VTX. Oh, okay, let me check the instruction manual on Rush's website. Oh, there is no instruction manual because the manufacturers want us to kill ourselves. No, they don't. They just know that we're deadbeats. Not deadbeats, but we're suckers, and we'll fucking make the goddamn instruction manual for them and then put a goddamn YouTube video up to it, and then they can just grab the link to that YouTube video and post it on their product page. Or maybe they won't even do that, because why give a shit? Just sell the product, and then we'll all figure it out, because we've been beaten by these manufacturers into like all right, let's talk about how often people buy bind and fly rigs, get them out of the box, they don't work, and they come to this live stream or any of the other live streams or Joshua's channel or all of the fucking Facebook groups and they go, hey, how many times have you seen this? Hey, I just got this so-and-so rig and it's not working. Help me get it working. No. Like, think about, like, anything else in the world. Like, you go to Target and you buy anything. You go to Walmart and you buy anything. You get it home and it doesn't work. You take it back. You don't fucking sit at home trying to fit. I mean, I probably do, but you take it back to Target or Walmart, right? And you go, hey, this shit doesn't work. Fucking give me one that does, goddammit. And you're pissed because you had to drive all the way back out there. Well, I guess we don't do it with stuff that we buy mail order because it's kind of a pain in the ass. But it's really not. Make those idiots send you a prepaid label for it. Or don't. Just drive it to the post office and give them a few dollars. But you guys ever think about that? Like, we've been beaten. We're fucking we have fucking Stockholm syndrome. FPV Stockholm syndrome. We do, yo. We have FPV Stockholm syndrome. But you know, and then I'm over here doing this, which doesn't help.
諦めんなよ諦めんなお前どうしてそこでやめるんだそこでもう少し頑張ってみろよダメやめ諦めたら周りのことを思うよ応援してる人たちのことを思ってみろってあともうちょっとのところなんだから俺だってこのマイナス10度のところしじみが取れるって頑張ってんだよ絶対やってみろ必ず目標達成できるだからこそネバギブアップ
So yeah, Chomper FPV with a $25 super chat. Brother, thank you. He says, you're a legend, Ciotti. I need Clam Man in my time of need, and you delivered it with your mystical, magical powers. This is way after the fact. I realized what I need you to know. You're an inspiration to us all. So Chomper, I'm guessing you got the rig out of the tree. Chris Mell coming through with a $20 super chat. Dude, thank you. Super generous. Just to cut... hello, just cut a 3-inch Pickle Evo 2 Mark III frame with my 3018 CNC 16x16 FSD 412 412 flight controller 12 amp 1203. Ooh, interesting. 1203. 1203. Okay. 6200 kV running 3S. Get angry motor noises. At high throttle I get oscillations running Betaflight 402 and UAV text toothpick preset. I would get that thing up to... So I had a lot of troubles with Betaflight 4.0 because they went more aggressive with the stock tune and it's pre-RPM filters. So Chris, I would get that onto Betaflight 4.2. Get your RPM filters turned on. It looks like it's an F4 flight controller, which is fine. You're going to run 4K on the gyro, and you're going to run D-Shot 300, and you should be totally fine. If that's BL Heli 32, you might even be able to go to 32.8, BL Heli 32.8, and get yourself high and low PWM. If not, if it's BL Heli S, that's fine. In BL Heli S, you can update it to 16.17, I believe it is, and that will give you RPM filtering. Once you're there in BL Heli, pull your ramp-up power down a little bit. Move your ramp-up power down. The default value is usually 50. Pull it down to like 40. I think it's like 0.50. Pull it down to like 0.40. Ultron, what's up? And then I think you'll probably be okay at that point. The stock tune, just at that point, get it up in the air. Make sure it doesn't make angry noises or oscillations at high throttle. Yeah, I think that's going to get you going, Chris. If it doesn't, or if you missed any of that, hit me up. CiottiFPV on all the social media places, and we'll keep working it. Instagram, I'm there. Revenant says, what do you like your motor timing and PWM frequency at? Revenant, I don't ever change the motor timing, and I'm a huge fan of Gem fans calling me right now. I'm a huge fan of the high and low PWM, 24 and 48. What's up, Ultron? Oh, wait, no, hold on. I do have the speaker on. Is this not working? Hold on, I'm unlocking my phone. There we go. Oh no, video chat ended. Oh wait, there's another one. Got it. Things are working for a change. Although now, I got no Ultron. Let me get back into the chat here. Bob Noxious says, I feel like that spot is off Walking Dead. Yeah, the spot feels like that for sure. Dan Richmond says, I made a front bumper for my bot AFX banger. It holds the camera in a cradle that keeps it protected and at my favorite angle, maybe something like that. Yeah, Brent from BMC3D made me a Micro Eagle camera mount that was like that. All right, come on, Instagram, work. None of the streaming services are working right at the moment. Instagram was a total, or YouTube was a total mess, and it looks like Instagram is being a mess right now too. I'm joining the chat and it's not letting Ultron in. I'm almost caught up on chat. Let me go. Frank Nicholas says, all of the issues you're pontificating are almost resolved by the DJI Air unit or Vista. No VTX, no RX. Just generally plug it in. Yeah, that's one of the things that I actually like about the DJI setup. I mean, the Air unit is not really an option. It's just way too big, way too heavy. But the Vista being a little bit more plug and play is a really good thing. Although, I mean, I guess the flip side of that is just that, like, it's really only one wire. Like, smart audio is only really one wire. If the board manufacturers would just put a pad called smart audio, it would kind of fix the problem. It's so weird. This is the third Instagram chat. Hey, there it goes. There it goes.
Yo.
Hey, Ultron, how are you?
Hey, there it goes. Okay, I got you. Got you.
Wow, Instagram is having a hard time.
So,
it's me.
This is a birthday present for you because I know you wanted this.
Oh boy. Wait, can I? Hold on. How do I?
You cannot show this.
Oh, okay, good.
This is only for you. This is only for you, but I want to see your face.
Turn the volume up so that chat can hear you. Oh. That's pretty cool. Oh, I'm so sad I'm not... No, I can't say that, but that is super cool. Is that purple?
And guess the color.
It's purple, isn't it? Oh my god. That's awesome. Oh man, the people that are going there are so lucky.
Yeah, they're gonna love it.
That's cool. That's gonna be cool. You guys are gonna dig that. Yeah, I mean...
But I'm gonna send you some.
Awesome. That is good news right there.
So,
and then I'm going to show you guys.
In that purple one.
Awesome. Oh, I love it, dude. Very cool.
We designed it purple just for you, so we can actually send you some.
Awesome.
So it's going to be it's a purple version just for you.
Awesome, dude. That's so cool. All right, brother. Love it.
Happy birthday, bro.
Thanks, dude.
Happy
Later. So Ultron is the quality was good. Instagram. Wait, no, it wasn't. It was bad. Ultron is Frederico. From you guys might know him as Frederico in the chat. Ultron is his FPV name. And yeah, that's gonna be really cool. That's funny. I have a feeling most of you guys know exactly what that was, just from yeah, but that's gonna be really cool. And yeah, of course they can of course that can be printed on, basically. Well, that's really slick. That's gonna be, yeah, you guys are gonna dig that, and you guys, your brains are gonna go exactly where mine is going. You'll see, it's worth the wait. Drone Pilot says, "You're killing me, but it's so true. We will just FPV fix rather than send it back. Like you said, if you buy a TV and it doesn't work, you're pissed and take it back to the same cost drone. No, yeah, we're all in a simulation. No, we're all Stockholm. We've been Stockholm syndromed by the electronics manufacturers. Although I guess we do have to take a little bit of responsibility because we demand that all of our stuff be kind of cheap. Like, if we were willing to spend, like, if we bought the more expensive stuff, well, okay, so if we, over the last 6 years, right, that this has existed, if we would have all, like, gravitated towards the more expensive electronics and gear, then the stuff that we would get would be better quality with manuals, right? They're not making instruction manuals because it's hard. It's hard and it's expensive to hire somebody to make an instruction manual, or it takes time. So I guess in the end it is our fault. But in our defense, we smash these things into concrete. So why the hell would we want to spend more money, right? Like, if KISS really was better, we would all be flying it. Or, okay, no, let's not say that. Well, yeah, I can say that because it's not better. But if, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. It just doesn't make sense to smash electronics that cost what KISS electronics cost, in my opinion, into the concrete. I mean, they're also not better, but, well, no, maybe they're better. They could, you could definitely say that they're better. Well, they are. They're better made because they're more expensive. If you ever get a chance to check, like if you haven't experienced a piece of KISS electronics yet, Flyduino rather electronics. If you ever fly with somebody that has a Flyduino quad, Flyduino is the manufacturer of the electronics, and then KISS is the name of the flight software, basically. In case you're new. Yeah, Flyduino electronics are beautiful. And when you take your 5X loop and you look at a KISS ESC or flight controller, you kind of go, oh, now I know why it costs twice as much. That being said, when I look at Acon electronics, I kind of have that same feeling, but the Flyduino stuff is all, like, everything is kind of crammed together, and everything, in order to do that, like, everything has to be, like, perfectly kind of spaced and very neat and tidy, and that's what, like, when you look at it, you're like, ooh, damn, like, that just looks quality. The Acon stuff is similar, but it's not so crammed together. They kind of space it out, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Acon stuff is so durable, is because, like, there's just sort of some, like, tolerances, like natural tolerances sort of built in. And yeah, like, when stuff gets really hot, if two components are, like, right next to each other, God knows what can happen. So yeah, I don't know. But Flyduino electronics, like, they're not, the guys that run that company aren't driving around in Ferraris. They're not pocketing that extra money. They're having a better quality shop assemble them, or they're assembling themselves. Kind of reminds me of Brain FPV, right? They're a bespoke small shop, and they're doing a lot of the shit in-house. So that's why they cost more money. Jen and I forget his name, that run Brain FPV. I always want to say Brain 3D. Yeah, they're just regular people. They're not taking the extra money and flying to Cabo every other weekend. They just make better quality products. But realistically, we're gonna smash it into the concrete. So, like, and I bought both of the Gen 1 Brain 30x30 and 20x20, and they were great quality. I didn't love the gyro. I am a bigger fan of the MPU 6000 gyro, as is Mark Spatz and all of the other Betaflight people that look at black box logs, that look at actual data about how these things fly, right? But it's a really they're really well made flight controllers. But then when I dropped that rig 30 stories to the concrete and everything in it blew up, the flight controller blew up, right? Like, if there's not like a really significant improvement in performance, then I'm not going to pay the extra money, right? Because why? It's just going to smash into the ground, and it's just like I basically expect none of the components in my rigs to last more than 6 months, and I can't afford to spend twice as much money on components for them to last 6 months. Like, if they would last 6 years instead of 6 months, or even like 1 year instead of 6 months, awesome. But they're not. Like, they're not any... There's a sweet spot. That's what it is. There's a sweet spot, right? Like the super cheap electronics, yes, they're super cheap, and you can get up in the air right now for cheaper, but they don't last as long. Straight up. Like, they just blow up after a few months. Acon, for example, and for a time it seemed Hobbywing, but it doesn't seem like their stuff is really reliable anymore. Acon, it's not super cheap, but it's not super expensive. It's right in the middle. And it's really durable, and yeah, in my opinion, it's the right like mix. You could totally make a case for buy the absolute cheapest stuff and just don't give a shit. Just absolutely fly as hard as you can, every single battery, crash constantly. As you're crashing, cool, crazy shit's gonna happen, and you're gonna learn really fast. Right? Because the really cheap stuff flies really good now. The budget rig somewhere up here flies like 98% as good as the glides that cost like an extra $100, mainly because of the motors, but it doesn't fly quite as good. Like, there is definitely a difference between the two, but realistically, the difference between the two is not really worth an extra $100, unless I'm using them for like cinema shit, which is a really good justification for me. Makes me feel better, because I was starting to feel bad about wasting money. But yeah, that's also one of the cool things about this hobby, in my opinion, is that we can do that shit, you know? I guess you can kind of do that with any hobby. You can get pretty... No, I guess not. Soccer as a hobby. There's only so many different kinds of soccer balls, right? Oh, you can probably get nerdy about the shoes, though. What's a hobby that you play barefoot with... with no equipment? But yeah, that is one of the cool things to this hobby, is that... the part selection gives you something to obsess about. Unfortunately, it makes no difference, and it's a complete waste of time. But in the process, you learn a lot, right? Like, shopping around. That was one of the ways that I learned about all the different specs of flight controllers and ESCs. It was just shopping around and just going on Banggood and reading the specs on every single different 20x20 ESC that existed. So I guess you could say that it's part of the learning experience a little bit, right? Deep thoughts from CiottiFPV. Riven, we already talked about that. The motor timing and PWM. Dalton, what's up, brother? He says, happy late birthday, homie. Thank you, dude. Random FPV says, has CiottiFPV hit the bong for 420? D Druid with a $4.20 super chat. That's the weed number. Thank you, D Druid. Very cool of you. Thanks for supporting, man. Chomper FPV says, I did not get it down, but I remembered never give up. So you know I really can't at this point. Hope you're having a good night, man. What are you gonna do? Did darkness fall? Are you gonna have to leave it up there till tomorrow, Chomper? I hate having to do that, but every time I go back, I've actually only had to do that once, and it was on Christmas Eve. The crazy mirror building edit. I had to leave that thing on Christmas Eve and come back Christmas Day to get the damn thing down, because it got hung up in the tree at sunset. So I only had like a half an hour to get it down, and it was kind of getting dark when I was trying to get it down. So it was really hard to get the weight and fishing line up over the right branch. I should have just tied it to the quad. I could have gotten it down in a heartbeat. But it's man, tying the fishing line to another rig and then taking that other rig over the branch and then disarming, like, that shit's risky. And it, like, I'm always really worried about the fishing line getting up into the blades, which makes no sense because all the wind is pushing the fishing line down. But it just, I don't know, it's just risky. I'm really always worried about getting two rigs stuck in the tree, you know? But I guess that doesn't really matter, because at that point, you got to get the one out anyway. Like, worst case scenario, you're going to pay an arborist $200-300 to climb the damn thing. And if there's two rigs up there, whatever, right? Christ, put a third one up there. Who cares? If you're paying them to go up and get one, it's probably no more money to get the second and the third. I gotta get some water. Did I not get any water? My throat's starting to bother me. Here's a little more of this creepy ass, flying at this creepy ass place. Creepy ass Walking Dead place. Is this battery just of the trunk? Or not battery, file? Yeah, that file's just of the trunk. That's worthless. Yeah, we're going on some rants here tonight. Shit's getting real. Hope you guys brought your kettle. Hope you guys brought your, I don't know, something. Be right back, I gotta get some water. Yo, it's a sick spot, right? Like, it's kind of creepy. Like, it was creepy to, I don't know, I was kind of on edge flying it. Because, like, I didn't know, man. There was seriously in my mind, like, is somebody gonna come out of one of these weird little, like, rape domiciles with, like, a fucking bazooka? Or, like, a, you know? Not a bazooka. Like one of those sling blade motherfuckers, you know? What's it called? When you go chopping through the bush? What's that called? Machete. You know? I was like, is somebody come out with a machete? Look at this nonsense. But now that nobody did, when I go back, it's gonna get I'm getting everything up in those. I'm losing everything up in those trees. The trees have like holes in like random spots. Katana. Katana. Yeah, look at this nonsense. Mountain Dew. Voltage. Voltage. Dew charged with raspberry, citrus flavor, and ginseng and other natural flavors. I won't do that again. My apologies. Yeah, it's raspberry Mountain Dew. It's not bad. I was in college when Mountain Dew Code Red came out, and that's when Brad and I were running the airsoft shop, building custom airsoft guns, and we would just stay up until like 4, 5, 6 a.m. every night. This was my fifth year of college. Well, this is my second senior year of college, and yeah, we would get lots of Mountain Dew Code Red and get all. I can't believe I lived through that shit. Let me get caught up on chat here. Remy Tim says, no, Stockholm Syndrome was our fault because we demanded the ability to repair these things ourselves. So that's true. That's so true. We're all tinkerers, and most of us see a problem with gear as a puzzle to solve. Yeah, it's very true. We are the enablers. Spudnik says, have you tried the budget diatone stacks like the Mamba F405? Also, could you tell the difference between a budget stack and a spendy stack and a blind flight test? I could, Spudnik. The cheap... The flight controllers typically don't really matter. Paying more for a flight controller... No, I'll be more specific. Going from the cheapest possible flight controller that you can get to the Acon flight controller, for example, it's like a $5 to $10 difference, and the Acon flight controller will crash better, and it will last longer. And in my opinion, that's what makes the Acon flight controller worth it. The 20x20 and the 30x30 F7. ESCs, but if the flight controller is working, you can't tell a difference in flight. So no, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference in a blind flight test between flight controllers. The ESCs, on the other hand, yes. The Acon ESC does not drop arms. Like, from day one into, like, just absolutely abusing the shit out of them, you don't get this situation where one channel starts to die a little bit, and in certain situations, it'll kind of dip an arm. That is what I can tell, typically, on... because it's a visible thing that happens. So, like, right out of the box, ESCs are typically good to go, although this HGLRC, red ESC, for example, is not. This thing is doing this behavior from day one. So I won't ever buy this HGLRC ESC. The HGLRC flight controller, on the other hand, might become the flight controller that I recommend. Why did I just eat a chip? Now I can't talk. So, on the ESC side of things, the cheapest ESC that you can possibly get could arm drop right out of the box, or what happens is every time you crash an ESC, it takes a little bit of like just sort of damage and abuse, and ESCs, I know this might sound nuts because electronics are supposed to either work or not work, right? But FETs, like the FETs, which are the gates, they just kind of like open and close, but at 11 quadrillion times per nanosecond. They do seem to like wear. They do seem to wear out. And on the really cheap ESCs, that process will happen pretty quickly. So like you'll get into a few crashes, and then one of the arms won't have the power of the others. And the pin loop catches it really fast, but there's still like a moment where it'll just have like a little kind of movement, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and then eventually it turns into desyncs, that corner. I think what happens is you get into a really hard crash, and you spin the motor backwards maybe, or it just, like, crazy shit happens when these motors are pushing really hard and they stop. It creates a big spike of heat and anger and hatred. So, yeah, that wears the FET a little bit. So, like, I feel like what happens is you get into a really hard crash where you're full throttle, for example, and that, like, just hurts that FET. And then if you get into a second crash on that same motor, which tends to happen, right? We usually crash nose in, so we usually hit the right or the left side. I hit the right side way more often. My right front always takes more abuse than my left front, and the fronts always take more abuse than the back. So yeah, I think that you take like 2 big hits, and I think that kind of will hurt. That seems to hurt the FETs enough to where they stop performing perfectly. And down we go. Check this out. I want to eat some chips. And I've got session 4 footage from this same spot. So here's session 5 footage. This is a cool comparison, session 5 versus session 4. The session 4 footage is 4x3. So, like, kind of picture it. In Premiere, you can do artificial super view. It's pretty easy. So I can take this session 4 footage and give it the super view look of the session 5 footage you're about to look at. But, so don't look at, like, the aspect ratio. Don't compare that. Compare the brights and the shadows, because that's the big difference between the session 4 and the session 5. But also, look at how good the session 4 looks, right? Session 4s are now $100 on eBay. Session 5s are creeping up to $200 on eBay. And you cannot get damage protection on these things now. So it's a big expense, right? Like a $40, like this era where we could have the protection, the Best Buy protection for $40 and basically get sessions for $40 over and over and over again every time we blow them up is gone. So now minimum, it's $100 to kill a session when you kill a session, which happens for hard freestyle people. You'll kill 2 cameras a month, 2 or 3 I mean, it really depends. Some months you won't kill any, but there'll be months where you'll kill 2 or 3 or Christ, even 4 of these damn things. So at 200, but that's if you kill 4 of them, that's an $800 month, right? That's nuts. Session 4, that's a $400 month. Still sucks, but you know what I'm getting at, right? So here's session 5. I gotta get the session 4 memory card. I gotta find it. I just found it. Hold on. I gotta make this a fair comparison. The session 4 was flown at the beginning of the day, so the light was different. So this is the session 5 battery right after the session 4 battery. It's this memory card. All right, so that's session 5, and these are in flat color profile, so that I can tune it up in Premiere. But these are both on flat color profile. So just the main thing that you'll see is the difference in the shadows and the light, and like how often or not often, or no, how quickly it changes when you go under shadow bits or up into bright bits. That's the biggest difference between the two. All right, cool. So that was session 5. Here comes session 4. Ooh, also compare the microphone quality, because the mics are the microphones are different. Yeah. Come on. Where is it? Title, GCIM. And we'll look at the last battery. Right? I'm gonna give you all the volume because I'm gonna eat these chips. And I know people lose their mind when people eat on the internet. Alright, so here's a really good example of what I'm talking about, actually. At the apex of this jump over the big building, I blipped the throttle. See the little really subtle bobble in the footage? It's hard to see, it's very slight, but it's there. It's when I'm perfectly inverted. So, that's one of the things that makes me absolutely crazy. And some of that stuff, it's so much better than it used to be, right? It happens so much less frequently, but it's still there. That's an example of something that, like, how little it can be, but it's still there. So, like, what I'm trying to say is, there is a point where you can get, that's an example of one of the things that I look for and that I can see on the really cheap gear. That being said, it's never going to be perfect. I don't think. I mean, here's the thing, right? My tunes are not, they're not super aggressive. And like something like that, if I went more aggressive with my tune, there's actually a chance that that would go away. But I think it happens infrequently enough. Jesus. I think it happens infrequently enough that I would rather have the softer tune so that I can abuse the rigs more and not worry about the motors ever heating up. Case in point. Because you can beat a rig and a set of propellers up pretty good before you get jello in a session 5. This is one of the things, so I call that, I think that's a part of the tuning window, to just kind of use, I mean, you know, we get to sort of make up what the tuning window is, right? But just what those words mean for us. But yeah, I kind of have like a tuning window, and I try to get the tune to the point where it'll still be good to go. Like after that crash right there, I don't want to have to come home because there's no jello yet. The prop is definitely bent, but there's no jello yet. So I want the tune to still be good to go at this point and not have the motors get hot. Make sense? But there will be a point where I will beat these propellers up and there will start being jello in the HD footage. And that is my stopping point for my tune. I push my tune more and more aggressive until it gets to exactly that point where the HD video feed is wrecked because of too many vibrations. But the tune is right about to get wrecked and start heating the motors up. Well, the motors do start to get hot at that point. So yeah, that's kind of where I started. This was really fun, but really sketchy to fly through. To fly through those, because like, I hate to admit it, but it was a moment where I was like, ooh, this is where digital would be awesome. But when I was in these trees, cheating death, that's where analog was better because of the lower latency, actually. So how about that? And when you're cheating death is when you're gonna really hurt the rig. When you're just cruising through those stupid patios and digital would be really good, that's when you're not really gonna hurt the rig. So ha! Analog for life. I want to eat some more chips. I feel like that was a good little rant. Let me put some more flight footage up. Well, I was flying pretty good this day. This was a nice, like, chill, like, this is my, this is Sunday, the day after my 40th birthday. I just went out alone. It was a spot that I'd found, yeah, I just wanted to check it out before I told anybody about it. This was a cool day. I was flying pretty well. I bet you there's a crash in here. Oh no, yeah, this is where I flew this other part. This will be cool. Alright, I want to eat some more chips. I'll be back. You guys ever just fly around like that? It's so, it takes like all the self-control that I've got to not just like rail the throttle and do like big stuff. But it's so fun to just kind of like float around like that sometimes. This spot was like encouraging me, right? Or like it was just asking to be flown in that way, I think, in my brain, maybe. Maybe not. Let me get caught up on chat. I'm really far behind on chat. Remy Tim says, also missed your opportunity to cut this 420 stream off at exactly 69 minutes and I'm unsubbing as a result. Well, I'll cut it at 4 hours and 20 minutes. Drone Pilot says, I spend only on long range, but the Park Bashers is whatever is good enough. D Druid says, also, what gauge wires do you recommend I grab for my build box? D Druid, believe it or not, I've never had to buy wire because all of our components that we buy come with wire. So as long as you save that wire that they all come with, you will always have the wire that you need. It's really nice. And especially when we break stuff, right? Every time we break something, we keep the wires. For motors, what helps is if you use race wires too, because then you'll cut your motor wires short, you'll replace a section of that wire with a PCB, a race wire, or an LED race wire. I love the LED race wires. Yeah, so they replace a section of your motor wire, and then when you cut your motor wires, you end up with this much extra. Like, motor wires always are really long, and then you cut this section off, and a lot of times you'll then have like an extra piece that you can use to sub in here on another build. So yeah, I've literally never had to buy wire. You just got to make sure you save the wire that comes with all your stuff. Why do I keep eating these? When I eat them, I can't talk. Northern Tier says, buy a pet monkey. I'm a half an hour behind on chat. There's where everybody said machete. Machete. Remy Tim says, is it 6S voltage or 4S? Remy Tim with the dad joke of the night. Tiago says, Mountain Dew sponsors Dr. Disrespect. Opportunity. Oh boy. Chris Mel says, here we go. Perfect example of what I was bitching about earlier. Chris Mel says, looks like I have to desolder my Crossfire from UART1 to get this flight controller to enter bootloader mode. Everything gets power from the USB. Joshua Bardwell's video said so. like it's bad enough that we know what Chris is talking about from that series of seemingly random letters, right? That like anybody outside of like the, I don't know what, 5,000 people in the entire world that can understand that sentence. That sentence shouldn't exist. Like, whoever made that flight controller is an asshole for doing that. But I'm sure internally they were like, well, this will be better if I do it this way. Well, no, it'll be better for like the one specific scenario that you're thinking about, the way these things could be built. BeepTube says, check this out, I want to eat some chips. Michael Blade says hello. Jason Crabtree says Session 4 and Session 5 versus RunCam Hybrid. RunCam Hybrid is kind of right in the middle, in my opinion. Well, shit. Here. Let's look. Was the 4-inch footage... It was not... Was it jello-y? It was jello-y. So I'm not going to use that one. We want to look at the footage from the one ripsqueak that was So here's session 4 again. All right, so that's session 4. Here comes Run Cam Hybrid. I thought the Run Cam Hybrid footage was a little bit better up until just now. I think we're about to see it not being better. The Run Cam footage, in my opinion, is a little bit there's a little bit more detail, I think. But it could just be over-sharpening. It's probably just over-sharpening. It's definitely over-sharpening. But the footage is still good, as long as we kill the audio. You also can't put the run cam into flat color. So it's going to be more saturated. Just, again, look at the shadows and look at the brights. And look at how quickly or slowly it adjusts. Hopefully it buffers a little bit here and starts playing better. There we go. It's not the computer is what's stuttery, not the run cam. So just look at like the quality of the video. It's really hard to compare because there's so much contrast, and contrast makes detail look a lot more detail-y. There's a gigantic mosquito in here, and I just motherfucker. Oh, I hit him. So yeah, like you know. This footage with the colors just kind of actually taken down a little bit. But see, look, see how dark it stayed and see how dark it still is? That's where the GoPros have a bigger sensor and just much more sophisticated noise reduction. So that's where the GoPros are really going to shine. So with the Run Cam Hybrid, you gotta just keep it, you just can't fly darker spots like this. Although there it goes, now it's adjusting. It's just having a harder time with the bright outside and the dark inside. It's having a much harder time deciding. And yeah, see how completely blown, it also might have less dynamic range. Although it's probably just much slower to adjust. That's more likely what it is. But this still looks great, right? Like DVR, analog DVR footage, let's just say it, like, for the most part, is kind of unwatchable. I don't like to admit that because I have a lot of edits up that are of analog DVR. And then we've got, like, well, here's my problem with DJI, right? The DJI, unfortunately, is not quite good enough that the DVR is like watchable in my opinion. I think it needs to be a little bit better than that. So DJI is not a solution to the HD problem in micros. Oh my god. That's the save of my life. I will never do that ever again. Yo, the brown stains in my pants from that were darker than a black hole. There were black hole streaks in my underwear from that. I wish the goddamn computer would play it properly, but it won't. Alright, so let me get caught up on the chat. Tiago says, not fair in 420 eating chips. Now I have to grab some. Yeah, the chip thing, I wanted to be a bad influence. And or I assume that you guys were all eating chips as well. BeepTube says, I think the video quality over the stream doesn't convey any subtleties, unfortunately. Oh, man. Well, hopefully you guys could see a little bit of a difference. I can. And I gave you my honest reaction. And, you know, I don't have a vested interest in any of them. So, like, if they're garbage, I'm going to say they're garbage because I don't care. Royal Pancake says, what's the longest lasting 5-inch you had? What about your longest lasting single electronic? How many flights do you estimate to get out of your 5-inch quad before they burn out? Unfortunately, Royal, what happens is each individual component wears out at its own totally random rate. So, like, you'll build a fresh rig, and, like, motors and props don't count. You blow them up constantly. So we're basically just talking about receiver, VTX, flight controller, and ESC, and camera. Cameras you blow up pretty frequently because they have an image sensor in there, and that image sensor is a sensitive piece of electronics, right? And the camera is on the nose. So the cameras blow up more often than any of the rest of the electronics, so we can kind of take them out of it, right? So then we've got flight controller, ESC, VTX, receiver. First of all, those 4 things are pretty cheap, so it's kind of like, fuck it. But flight controller has a gyro on it. That gyro, if you smack it hard enough and often enough, the gyro will break. Typically before that happens, though, see, here's the thing. Acon ESCs, like, if like the average is here, Acon ESCs are stupidly durable. And then, like, everybody else's ESCs are stupidly fragile. So there should be this middle ground, but unfortunately there's not. So, like, everybody else's ESCs, my experience would be that the ESC would blow up first. Then, typically, replace the ESC. Sometimes another one would blow up. But then, sometimes you would blow up the gyro. The gyro would start to flake out on the flight controller around that same time. Sometimes you would get like 3 ESCs deep, 3 blown up ESCs deep before you had to replace a flight controller, just from the gyro taking so much abuse. Although I have flight controllers that are like 2 years old, that the gyros are fine. So, but there's variance in all of this. You could buy the cheapest possible ESC and it could last forever. It probably won't, but this is just the normalcy that I've seen. VTXs, if you mount them properly and you run low power until first arm in the VTX tables, I've had immersion RC tramps that have lasted a year. I've also had ones that, yeah, no, they can last a long time, although they do get hot. So VTX, I don't know. The immersion RC tramps are shockingly durable. I've only had a couple let go, and it was after really bad crashes. So again, you got to mount the damn things right. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe like around the same frequency as the flight controller letting go, the VTX will let go. But they'll never happen at the same time. It'll always happen like a month apart, so that you just got your goddamn order in with the replacement flight controller in it, and now you got to do another order for the replacement VTX. Which is why it's good to build identical rigs, so that no matter what, you have the exact same set of parts. And if for some reason it's easier for you can rob parts off of your second identical rig, because it's impossible, I've found, to have one of every electronic extra in this building. Because if I do, then I go, well, I mean, I'll just fucking build a second one, or a third one, or a fourth one. Although now I do. Now that I have 3 glides up, I do have I have one of everything. But that's easy, because why wouldn't you? Because you're going to use it on these 3. Anyway. But... And what's nice is these builds are only like $300 all up, so it's not like that much to be able to do that. And having the identical rig saves you money because it's the same. All of the electronics are the same across them, so you're never going to get hung out to dry with like one extra whatever Mamba flight controller that you don't want to use anymore because it's not as good or something like that. So, and then receivers tend to just kind of last forever. Receivers don't really break. They're so small and lightweight, but receivers are on the constant hype train. So instead of receivers breaking and needing to go in the garbage, somebody else comes out with a new protocol that's 0.01 milliseconds faster, and everybody loses their minds, even though that doesn't make a shit bit of difference because whatever. So, sometimes things will break at the same rate that the hype train will produce new stuff that's way better and game-changing and the best XYZ ever. And then you get to ride then you can ride the hype train unless you've got 3 identical builds. And then when you have 3 identical builds, you go, no, I'm not going to ride that hype train because that isn't going to fly any better because the goddamn flight software is not maxed out yet. The flight software is not maxing out the processors, for example, in our flight controllers. So there's no advantage to the F7, to be honest. Well, no, F7 I guess is good now. Well, no, on the faster F4 processor, you can run D-Shot 600 8K 8K. So technically speaking, we didn't even need to go to F7s yet. Definitely not H7s. Or with ESCs, it's this F3 processor on board versus whatever the hell the pre-F3 processor was. It doesn't matter. BLHES, according to the Betaflight devs and the guys that look at the black box logs, BLHES flies exactly... Well, no, now there's not high and low PWM. Okay, so for the first time now, BLHeli32 does have an advantage over BLHES, but the whole F3 on the ESC thing doesn't mean anything yet, but future-proof, I don't know. These are rant night. Robo Pancake says, when is the next time you're going to fly at Mr. Steele's house? Next time there's like some kind of an event, I guess, that ends up being at his house. Yeah, I haven't talked to him in a long time. We don't like hang out or anything like that. We never really have. Or if randomly he messages me and says, yo, a bunch of us are flying at my place or whatever. But I wouldn't assume that would happen. Spudnik says, I want to see you do a half roll, half flip after that yaw move you do. Half roll, half flip. Yeah. That would be a cool way to get out of it. I really resist the urge to do that, like, I try to stay on the same axis. I find that when I do movements on one axis and then another axis, like, it's cool for us pilots to see it, but I feel like when other non-pilots watch it, it's kind of like, whoa. So I kind of try to stay... split S's are the exception. But I try to stick on the same axis. That's why I yaw that thing out. I try to almost do 360 degrees total on the same axis to just... I don't know. I find it a little bit more... watchable is a word, but... I just try to mix the hardcore freestyle style with the cinematic. I really enjoy, like, inserting cinematicness. And like when I fly, it's I think Gappet said this, and it was the perfect description for it. Fly the camera. Like, there's an approach of flying to, like, just go out and, like, flying, like, full-on freestyle. Like, I'm fucking thrashing around. and that's awesome. I love getting into those little, like, in one of those I had like a 30-second burst of going nuts like that, right? But then there's, and that's like you're flying, right? Like, hey, if I was out there flying, I would be doing parkour in the air because that'd be awesome with my, flying body and my actual eyeballs soaring through the sky. But then flying the camera is, I think, a very different thing, right? Because you're thinking about framing and I mean, you're thinking about the way that movies have done that, helicopter shots and shit like that with gimbals, right? With horizontal level all the time. And I love mixing those two. So that I think that's why you don't see me do, like, every time I do that yaw move, I yaw it back out. That's why I think I do that every single time. Your idea would look really cool as almost like a reverse, whatever the hell it's called, Vanny roll or whatever. But unfortunately, when I'm like, I have to like I have to like make notes or something. When I start flying, it's just I get into like mode. Like, I have trouble at this point. Like, sometimes when I watch my footage, I'll have like an idea, or like late at night, I'll have like an idea for a movement, and I just never remember. Like, just now, I remembered that I had this really cool thought. I've had this thought like 3 or 4 nights in the last like 2 weeks, right? Trees are like this, and I haven't done this once, and I've flown a bunch since I've had this thought multiple times. Trees are like this, right? So you go under the tree, you pitch back, you go under the tree, nose down. This is the tree. Nose down, you pitch back, hammer the throttle, get enough momentum, snap down. All right, under the tree, snap back, full throttle. You only need, like, with 2306s, you only need like half a second of full throttle, and that's going to give you enough up. You snap down, and you just freeze. And you float, you ride backwards up the tree, over the top, and then you have that momentum, so then you ride down the back of the tree. And now the tree is nose in, so the tree is whizzing by the top of the viewfinder here. Ooh, it looks just like that. And then you get under the tree and you hammer the throttle and fly back under the tree. I've thought of that trick at least 3 nights. I think 3 nights when laying in bed not being able to sleep. And I haven't tried it yet. And that spot would have been perfect for it. Absolutely perfect for it. Maybe now I'll remember it. There was another really cool camera movement that I thought of on one of those nights, and I have absolutely no recollection what that was. Tiago says, I wouldn't fly that spot at sunset. You never know who comes out at night at that place. So I can't wait to fly it with other people next time, hopefully. So that if the zombies come out, we'll have a fighting chance. That place is creepy like a cult that will have you working as a carpet cleaner. So if he disappears, check those rap shacks, houses. Yeah, they are like little shacks, dude. Like, the doors are just like pieces of siding that have been cut to the right shape with like 2 hinges on them. But they do all have electricity. Doc Murdoch says, happy birthday, buddy. Thanks, brother. I'm only 20 minutes behind on chat. Royal Pancake says, how many flights do you get out of the 5-inch Furoco's? Boom. Also, arms break. I'll go through 1 or 2 arms a month. But again, arms are a wear item, as well they should be. It says try to save the motors. Motors being a wear item is very, very expensive. Michael Blade says, I did that today. Went through the tree, hit the pavement, also caught both battery straps. Had to watch the goggle DVR to find it. Oof, yeah, that's scary. I've never had both battery straps let go. I've only ever had one battery strap let go. But I do use the, it will end, that's why I don't use anything heavier than the plastic buckle thin battery straps from Pyrodrone. or from Ethics. DQ says, do you or anybody in the chat know where to get the stupid 4x6 0.3 millimeter shim washer spacers that go between the green O-ring and the top bearing of the T-Motor 23s? No, I do not, DQ. I have a couple of extras. Well, they come with extras, but I'm assuming you lost them. Yeah, they come with extras, and I actually put them in. All of the T-Motor 2306 motors. Well, yeah, I think all of the T-Motors, they come with an extra one of those washers, and I added in there. So I actually don't have any extras anymore. Ben Watkins says, do you ever mess with ramp up power or demag on the Acons? I was having issues with mine. I don't, Ben. I've never had to. I am kind of curious about pushing the ramp up power up to try to get a little bit more power, but I have enough power, and like I try not to chase the dragon and put things to like the razor's edge, because I would rather have more durability than like a tiny little bit of extra performance. But I am very curious about it, so this does kind of make me want to take 5 minutes and plug in all of the 5-inch rigs and push the ramp up power to 0.6. If a couple people want to see me do that, I will do that. How about that? Xenakis rightly says identical builds for the win. Yeah, it's funny, like you resist, for me at least, I resisted the urge to do identical builds because it's boring and because I still thought that I was going to find another goddamn piece of electronics that was super cheap but really good quality, and I could be like, yes, I figured that out. I'm the smartest man ever. Yeah. But like, and this, I don't think I'm alone, right? I've seen this with so many different people, and then like once those people do identical builds, they just go like, oh, now, because no matter how bad this one gets mangled, I have an identical one right there, and I'm not going to have to adjust to it, and it's not like, ooh, this is my best flying rig, so I'm going to fly that first. Oh, fuck, I crashed it. I'm so mad because now I have to fly the one that doesn't fly as good, right? When they're identical, it's just like, oh, that one went into the sea and is lost forever? That sucks. All right. Away we go. LCV says, yep, that's one of my favorite moves. Yeah, me too, LCV. That flat yaw turnaround thing, it feels insane to say this every time I say it, but I remember feeling that when I flew Flight 1 and Kiss, I remember when they wouldn't do that move without a bunch of bounce back. I remember that being like a big part of the reason that I swore off. I mean, otherwise Kiss flew really good, and like I was kind of starting to justify replacing motors much more often because Kiss doesn't deal with vibrations anywhere as well as Betaflight. I was starting to kind of justify, well, like I don't break that many motors, and they're not like that expensive. And the fresher the motors, the slightly extra power that I'll get and a little bit less vibrations. But when I couldn't do that movement, it was kind of like, well, and you can't tune that out. I mean, that's just bounce back. UAV Tech, Mark Spatz's series of comparisons of Kiss versus Betaflight, like, completely demolishes the idea, like unequivocally, that that Kiss flies better than Betaflight. It doesn't. It has terminal bounce back, like, period. So in terms of matching set point, yeah, it's not like a question. And that movement is a movement that, like, if you were to like sit down and be like, okay, what movement can we create that will no matter what cause bounce back, that would pretty much be the one. Because you go full beans on yaw and full beans on roll. Well, no, I guess if you went full on yaw and full on pitch, that would be even worse. But that motion would be so jarring that you wouldn't even be able to see the bounce back. So that's kind of one of the other things, right? Like, we've developed a lot of ways to hide bounce back, and a lot of the reasons that we fly the way that we do is to hide the bad behaviors. You ever wonder why you very rarely, when you're like in it, right, and like when you're flying in full freestyle mode, you ever wonder why you don't go, like, you're flying forward and you go full throttle and then you just chop the throttle? Ever wonder why you don't just ever do that and just let it float? It's because when you do that, until very recently, you got a big ugly bobble that looks like crap, and it's just not, it's not a commanded movement, right? So your brain is like, ugh. So that's why when we do that and we chop the throttle, we typically will like do a roll right into like a split S, or we'll do like a pitch back, like to start some wacky shit, or a pitch forward to look at the ground. Usually it's roll, right? Usually you go full throttle, you chop the throttle, and you flip, you add roll in. And that movement in the camera hides the bounce back. And so, but this flat yaw rotation back doesn't, this is the other thing, it does not hide the bounce back, because it looks cool when the horizon stays perfectly flat and the whole world just goes whoop. But if there's a big like when that happens, it's just, it's really obvious, right? And it just looks unprofessional. It just doesn't look good. And I remember just being like, man, like I just can't do that. But if I'm gonna switch over to this, I have to sacrifice that camera movement. And like that was a big part that I was just like, no. Like, I'm not willing to do that. Like, yeah, these electronics are beautiful. Yeah, there is like some different feeling to the way that Kiss flies. But here's the other thing too, right? I also realized like it's just a different feeling. It's not a better feeling, right? Like, it's important to separate different from better. And to like, when I really like thought about that, I was just like, yeah, it's different, but it ain't better. It's just different. And then that coupled with like, well, I can't do this one like camera move that I really enjoy doing, and I think it looks fucking cool. It was just like an easy decision. There was something else. There was some other... I mean, the other big thing is that once you move your P gains, so, you know, keep it simple, stupid, right? Okay, great. So you've got P gains that adjust, for all intents and purposes, the sharpness of the way that the rig reacts, right? With Kiss, where you only really have the PIDs, you would have to move your P gains up to the point where, in order to handle all of the like the wind and the weird shit that happens, to get a good locked in tune, you would have to move the P gains way the hell up, and then it would be like kind of over sharp. Whereas with Betaflight, you had feed forward. You could like drop feed forward down nice and low, or you can go up with feed forward and get even more sharpness in comparison with the P gain. So it's just, yeah, it's just like, I get keep it simple, but unfortunately, keeping it simple, there's like not much resource out there. Like there's nobody doing videos about Kiss and how to set it up. So like in my experience, Kiss was a lot harder than Betaflight, because Betaflight, we've got an infinite number of resources and people that know it. So you just, if you can't figure something out in Betaflight, you just type your question into YouTube and Joshua has a video and he tells you exactly what the answer is. So the fact that Betaflight is more confusing and there's more options and more buttons and levers doesn't really matter, because the resources are easily available to make it work. Whereas with Kiss, it's like, well, yeah, there's less buttons and levers, but there are no resources out there about what the hell to do with these buttons and levers. And then for there to be these like things that you just couldn't do, right? It just doesn't have RPM filtering. It just doesn't have feed forward, doesn't have anti-gravity, doesn't have I-term relax. You know, I haven't ranted about the deep, dark reasons and experience that I had with Kiss and Flight 1 compared to Betaflight in a moment. In a minute, as the kids say. I think, am I caught up on chat? Can't be. Mark A says, both fly well, but for me, Kiss just feels better on the sticks. More of the moves that people talk about, you don't really ever do in flight, so it kind of doesn't matter. Both are good flight controllers. Mark, I challenge you to go on the journey of personal debunking and or placebo that I went on. And think, next time you're flying the both of them, think about the difference between better and different. Because there were moments where I kind of maybe thought that Kiss might have felt better, but then I could pretty easily just go like, no, it's just different. You know what I mean? Like I could pretty easily like force myself to like hold on, is it? And then more often than not, I would go, no, it's just different. But Kiss people are not usually as open-minded as you sound. So I would love you to go through that mental exercise if you haven't already. Because I can never really have that conversation with the Kiss people. They're just, you know, it's either this or everything else should be burned in hell. And it's like, oh, well, okay, that's a pretty extreme approach, but I mean, I understand the sentiment. Because it's easy to be, you know, brand loyal for no real reason whatsoever, right? I mean, brand loyalty, it's like, why? They're not paying us. Like, why be loyal to any one brand? There's just no reason. Unless you're sponsored by them, which none of us really are. And what's funny is, even when you're sponsored by them, you still shouldn't be brand loyal. You should still be open-minded. Which is why I'm going to put out a bunch of these videos ranting and raving about how much I like these HQ V2Ss. GemFan told me straight up, like, don't not do that. They're like, you know, fly other props, give honest reviews, whatever. Like, you know, we don't want you to change your, you do you, I guess. So, Quessy Williams says, do you ever use nylon screws to secure your sec? At the bottom, or use metal screws? Metal screws are only Quessy. They weigh a lot more, but the plastic screws just break constantly, and when they break, other things break. You know, like it's sometimes not just replacing the nylon screw; it's replacing the nylon screw in the entire ESC. Because when the nylon screws broke, the ESC flipped up and smashed into the carbon top plate and exploded. So yeah, metal screws only. Mark A says, flight controller feel just comes down to personal preference. I can't stand how Betaflight feels myself. In the end, fly no matter what you fly. Mark, you should check out UAV Tech's way to make Betaflight feel like Kiss. Because what's interesting about that is you can still get the advantages of RPM filtering. And basically the difference Mark shows in the black box log, the difference is that just Kiss has more bounce back. And that gives it like just a different smooth feeling, but you can pretty easily make Betaflight do that. And again, get the benefit of RPM filtering, which that was really the other shocking thing for me, was once I got the P and the D gains high enough on Kiss to where the tune felt as good as the Betaflight tunes, you were at like the ragged edge, and if the motor got banged up even a little bit, or the prop got significantly bent, the motor heat would just go ballistic, and the tune would get really vibey. Lots of mid-throttle oscillations and stuff like that. The tuning window with the RPM filters is just unbelievable. So, yeah, that could be something to check out, because it's cool to see Mark show it in the black box logs, because like that's kind of it. He is going to be doing some testing with the Kiss ESCs though, because he's kind of debunked that the flight controller has anything to do with it. So the only thing that people now, like Kiss diehards, are now saying is that, oh, well, it's because the ESCs are better. And it's kind of like, well, where was that 2 months ago? Like 2 months ago, it was like, you know, the software and the filtering and the flight controllers were better. And now it's kind of like, oh, well, that's kind of shot to shit. I hope that the ESCs are better, because that will get hopefully get the Betaflight ESC manufacturers off their asses to make better stuff. Although with the how clean the noise profile is with the Acon electronics, I think we might already have that in the Acon ESCs. I get a funny feeling that the Acon ESCs are every bit as good as the Flyduino ESCs. But we'll see. Mark Spatz is going to test that. I can't wait to see it. Jordan Pilot says, I have Crossfire and plug in the XT30 on my Radio Master and forgot the battery died. I came up with a solution by using a FET to switch off the XT30 when your module is not activated. That's pretty cool. I guess that's the... I don't have the Crossfire that has the external power supply, but I think that's what you're talking about, the big module. That's pretty slick. Mark A says, been there, done that for 3 years. KISS just feels better to me or different in a way that suits me better. That's a perfect way to word it. Different in a way that suits me better. That's such a perfect way to... Like, a lot of times what I'll say is, like, you know, fly whichever flight software connects best with you in your brain. But what I think what I'm starting to see with Spatz's testing, and just black box logs in general, is that like it's that you can. It seems like you can make Betaflight feel like the other ones, so that you can get the advantage of RPM filters and do whatever you need to do to get Betaflight to connect with your brain better, basically, right? Because what it seems like is that because of how good Betaflight tracks the set point, your set point is typically kind of sloppy, right? Like, our thumbs are kind of sloppy, but like, if I hate to admit this, but best bet would be to keep working on our sticks, right? And to run Betaflight with the feed forwards up at like the 200s that Mark talks about, so the rig perfectly matches set point all the time, right? Because then we have all the control. But I guess I know what the problem of that is that we're a little janky with our fingers because we're trying to control rotation with fucking an inch of goddamn movement with 2 fingers only. So yeah, it's interesting to then use flight software and the things within the flight software to take what our sticks are doing and convert that into what our brain wants to see. Yeah. Right? I don't know. Mark A says, for me, I don't care. It's just a flight controller. The flying is the thing. I figured just fly, LOA. That's true. In the end. Jordan Pod says, so if you power off or you use internal multi-protocol, then it switches off the XT30, starts to board for $5 in basic soldering, so everyone can do it. Nice, Drone Pilot. If you're going to make like a thing on how to do that, I'll put it up on the Patreon page. That sounds like a cool project. My voice has taken a beating over the past few days because I've been doing longer live streams. So I'm going to drink all this Snapple Peach tea. Whew. Mark A says, your Betaflight is much better for beat-up motors. Yeah, it's kind of nuts how dirty of a rig Betaflight's filtering will just gobble up. If you guys are at all into cars, you should check out my Gran Turismo Sport stream from earlier, specifically the third race. I did 4 races, 5 laps each, 4 races, 20 laps total. And the third race was pretty cool. If you have any interest in cars, specifically like 80s and the 90s Le Mans cars, that was pretty fun, man. Great racetrack, sunset, really cool group of cars, good soundtrack, and me screaming and yelling. At the end of this stream, I think I'm actually going to jump back on there and do that race again. I am really excited Hold on. For anybody that hasn't seen it yet, I gotta show this thing off because I'm so impressed by this piece of kit. So this is, oh shit sticks. I was into real cars for many years, but they're just too goddamn expensive. And I always followed the Gran Turismo games, Gran Turismo 1, 2, 3, but then I didn't do 4 and 5 because I was into playing real race cars. Not now, but like, I don't know, 6 months ago, I started playing Gran Turismo Sport, which has been out for like 3 years, and I'm just totally blown away by like the accuracy of the tire model now and the graphics and everything. And recently I realized that FPV is no longer my hobby, it's my career. So I get to have a hobby, which is really helpful. It's really helpful like having a hobby now and just not having my entire life be FPV. So yeah, now I'm since like real race cars is just, I think, like past, which is fine in my life. I'm gonna get into sim racing, but we live in a small place here, and sim rigs are usually gigantic. But this thing is super awesome. It's basically the lawn chair of sim rig setups. So look, it folds up like this. The steering wheel and the pedals aren't on it yet, but they fold up and it stays this same size, right? So it's this big, but then the goddamn thing folds out literally like a lawn chair. This is a goddamn lawn chair, but set up for sim rigs. Look at it. It folds out into like a legit, really comfortable seat with a platform for the steering wheel and then this fold-out platform for the pedals. So you drop this in front of your home theater / TV, and yeah, you get like a much better than with a controller simulation experience. And yeah, I'm very excited. And on Thursday, the steering wheel and pedals are going to be here. Thrustmaster T300s. I've been playing for months and months and months on the controller, and the controller is great because you can just relax and like just sit on the couch, whatever, just blah, blah, blah. But yeah, the game is so accurate, to be honest, that getting a half decent steering wheel and pedals really makes a big difference. And that is shockingly sturdy. It's not like you wouldn't put like a big nasty direct drive, like $3,000 direct drive wheel on that. But for like the $300, $400, $500 steering wheel and pedal sets, they're perfect. They don't create enough torque to fuck that thing up. Like it's specifically meant for those setups, so it's perfectly sturdy for those. Yeah, I can't wait. Ruby Tim says, cut this stream and go stream Patreon only and light up. No! Zeneka says, I flew my Apex HD build with your tune this weekend, and a few Kissed Apex builds. They were impressed. Nice. Yeah, that tune is pretty simple, but man, Betaflight doesn't need a lot to just like really lock itself in. Tiago says, I've heard me talking that the FETEC ESC is the magic sauce, and yes, the damn ESC software is another level. See, that's funny. I've heard the opposite. Steele himself actually said that he could feel a difference between the Flyduino electronics and the FETEC electronics. And he wasn't saying that the FETEC electronics were better. He was saying that he could... that, yeah, the FETEC was still not there yet with their ESCs. Whether that means anything for the rest of us, you know, normals in comparison, probably not, but... Tiago says, I talked to Mark about putting them in an oscilloscope, but he lacks the equipment. I need to get off my ass and test it. Nice, Tiago. Dude, that would be super cool. Drone Pilot says, I use Acon and T-Motor ESCs on long range. They're bulletproof, never failed unless physical damage from a crash. Yeah, I think T-Motor electronics are going to be my next ones, but unfortunately the Acon stuff just doesn't die, and I'm not just going to replace it for the sake of replacing it. I only replace stuff when they die. What's going to piss me off is that once one finally dies, well, no, I have extras. Yeah, the whole identical rig thing, right? When you have identical builds and one of those pieces gets discontinued, it sucks. Because at some point, your 3 identical builds with discontinued electronics, you're going to run out of spares, and then the first one of those 3 builds that grenades that electronic, it's like, shit. I got to put in a different electronic in here. But if you're using good quality electronics, flight controllers, ESCs, receivers, BTXs, you should be at a good performance level, so there shouldn't really be a change at that point, and you can just fly the other 2 identical rigs like constantly until you break one of those, and now you've got 2 rigs on the new stuff and 1 rig on the discontinued stuff, and then that's your first rig that you always fly, and you smash the shit out of it, and you break that one last discontinued electronic piece. But that doesn't work for Acon stuff because I just can't break it. Mark A says, is the car seat for PC sturdy? Yep. Talked about that. Veritas Weasel says you can never have too many hobbies. Oh, sure you can. Remy Tim says, you caught me. I'm an undercover narc just waiting to get you smoke on stream. Drone Pilot says you need to give your voice a break. I mean, I want to hear you, but you need to have a break, buddy. Place a video of you flying, whatever. Just breathe. I'm good. I'm just trying to stay on top of it. I appreciate it. Tiago says the FETEX software is better. The hardware is too fragile. Oh, that's interesting. That's super interesting. Caught up on chat we are. Although, nah, we got a little more time in us here. Mindbender says, do you have any experience with Armaton marmot frames? Getting weird flutter noise at low to mid throttle with vibes. Heard about resonance issues. Ran black box. D-term is going crazy. Yeah, Mindbender. Those Armatan frames, almost across the board, have mega mid throttle oscillation problems and lots of other problems. You really won't find many, if any, pro pilots flying Armatan frames. They're just a lot of other frames out that are much better than them. So you can spend a lot of time dropping static notch filters. Chris Rossman has a video about the marmot frame, and in that video there's like 6 or 7 or 8 specific frequencies that frame has a super hard time with. So I mean, you could just like go in and try to target each one of them. Your best bet, though, is to get out of that frame, unfortunately. Fixing it in the software is putting Band-Aids on it. It doesn't fix the actual problem itself. It kind of puts a Band-Aid on a head wound sort of thing. The other thing to remember is that, unfortunately, the lifetime warranty on the Armatan frames never really pays for itself. Not never, but typically doesn't pay for itself because the return process is like months long from what I keep hearing. And it's what are you gonna do? Just not fly the rig, right? You gotta build a whole other one. Well, now they got twice as much money from you. So yeah, it's tough because Armatan has this reputation of making really good products, and they did at one point. Like 2 or 3 years ago, their products were really good, but they haven't really innovated in the right ways, and they've kind of gotten left for dead by a lot of the other frame manufacturers. So we have a lot better frame options at the moment that we didn't have 2 years ago. So that frame was great 2 years ago, and if you want to spend the time, you can probably drop static notches on each one of those frequencies, or you can spend $50 on a glide frame and you won't have to deal with that. Is kind of my thought process. The big problem with the Armatan frames is Chris, that runs the company, refuses to believe what the entire rest of the industry unequivocally understands as fact, which is that you have to line the carbon fiber up vertically to the length of the arm. Chris runs it at a 45-degree angle, and that makes the arms wobbly. And yeah, it's just like a pretty basic concept in carbon fiber that, yeah, they, yeah. Mark A says, I'm happy to keep an open mind and give Betaflight another go. You recommend just T-Motor F7 and ESC. My recommendation actually is the Acon AK32 ESC and the Acon 20x20 flight controller, but they discontinued the analog version of no, you can just get the DJI, or if you're 30x30, if you're doing a double 30x30 stack, I forget that not everybody flies glides. If it's a double 30x30 stack, yeah, Acon AK32 ESC. I run the 35 amps, and the Acon F7 flight controller. Like, done. That combo is scary good. And then, yeah, definitely check out Mark Spatz's series comparing KISS to Betaflight, because in the last one, and even on his website, he's got like a CLI dump that you can drop in that, according to his black box logs, makes Betaflight damn near perfectly match the performance of KISS. And what's nice is if you want to then take Betaflight and sharpen it up so it matches your set point a little bit better, you can. With KISS, you can't, right? Like he got KISS to the point where it was tuned as far as you could possibly go, in terms of the rig matching set point. Betaflight, you can go so much further past that, and then even further, or you can back it off and bring it to the point where KISS is at. So, you know, like they'll both get you from 0 to here, but then Betaflight will get you all the way out here. And what's really cool is when you back Betaflight way off like that, your tuning window is just gigantic, so you can smash into concrete all day long and the motors won't even start to get hot, because Betaflight is, you know, like the filtering is so much better, right? RPM filtering is just absolutely game-changing. It's like driving a manual car with and without a tachometer, right? Like without a tachometer, you got to do everything by ear, and ear is not, you know, super, like, perfectly accurate. Unless you've revved it out to revline 7,000 times in a row, almost like Mr. Steele flying KISS 7,000 times in a row, right? But regardless of that, if you had the tachometer, you'd be more accurate from day one. And even after 7,000 times, you would still be more accurate, right? Using a better tool will allow you to be even better than suffering through a whatever. Mindbender FPV says, I disagree on that. The Armatan warranty is awesome. Pyrodrone sent me a warranty replacement in 3 days. So that's interesting. I didn't know that. So the people who have come into the chat and talked about the Armatan warranties taking forever, they've had to go through Armatan, and that's what's taken forever. Nobody has ever maybe figured out that you can go through the retailer, because that's the first I'm hearing of that. And yeah, I mean, Pyrodrone's customer service is amazing. So if you can go through Pyrodrone, that's awesome. Unfortunately, you're getting warranty replacements on a substandard frame. Well, like, here's the other thing, right? Like an Armatan frame, you're going to spend $100. Glide frame, you spend $50. With that extra $50, you can buy a lot of extra glide arms, and then just when they break, you just replace it real quick. You don't have to, you know, email Pyrodrone and say, hey, I need to pull my entire rig apart here, and then you send me the warranty replacement, and you know what I mean? I don't, yeah, I don't know. Just my opinion. Just one lanky man's opinion. Veritas Rizzo says, I bought a jumper, T-Late, JP, letters, numbers, and Banggood sent the wrong one. Told me I'd have to ship it to China to get it exchanged instead of returning it here in the U.S. Just warning everyone. Oh, that sucks, dude. I would reply back to that and be like, you made the mistake. I don't have to do shit. You need to send me what I ordered. That sucks, Veritas. I wonder if you said that to them, if they would say, oh, okay. Because from a business standpoint, it does kind of make sense to be like, hey, you have to, right? Like, send it back to us. I wonder if you gave him a little. I wonder if you gave him gave him a little business that might. I don't know. Mindbender says I'm leaning on transplanting all the guts over to an Apex, and have a twin for my other Apex. It's a good frame. It's an expensive frame, and it's a little heavy for me, but it's a really good frame. It's a really, really, really solid frame. My main complaint about the Apex frame is that the arms are a little bit too strong, I feel like, and that puts more energy and stress into the motors during crashes, and I always prefer to have the arm break and absorb some of the energy so that the motor doesn't grenade. But there is something to be said for less arms breaking, because in any crashes where you gather it up and you flat bottom it so that the motor doesn't hit the ground, a stronger arm is better in that case, right? Because you can get it at really hard crash and not have to replace the arm. But then where I get annoyed is, and a lot of times like by the time I crash, I'm doing something stupid and I'll come in inverted, and the motor hitting is where a weaker arm is a better idea. I mean, not necessarily a better idea, but just like cheaper, potentially cheaper. Smooth and Groovin with a $4.20 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, is 2400 kV on 6S too low of a kV for 4-inch prop? Absolutely not, Smooth and Groovin. A little bit ago, I played some footage from this guy, which is 4-inch propellers, the beautiful Gemfan 4023s on the Newbie drone. These are probably motors you're thinking about. The Newbie drone 2004 2400 kV, and on 6S I actually motor limited this down to 80%, and it felt really, really good. At 100%, it would be an absolute intercontinental ballistic missile. So yeah, that combo will make tons of thrust on a 4-inch propeller. Mindbender says they have an agreement with Pyrodrone to ship in the USA. That's very cool. Wow, didn't even buy it from Pyrodrone. Damn, that's pretty cool. It's a shame that they don't make any. It's a shame that they don't make any frames that have that don't have mid throttle oscillation problems. Talk to Remy Tim about Armatan frames. He struggled so bad with them. He's where I found out about it. He's where I found out about all the problems with the Armatan frames. He actually did a series of videos, edits here on YouTube, comparing frames about like 2 years ago when that was first coming out. We are almost at 3 hours, and my voice actually now is truly starting to go. So Metal Dirt's is gonna get the last question in here. He says, I just spent an hour listening and not watching because I was trying to adjust my new monitor. Mindbender says Banggood sucks. I've actually had a pretty good experience with Banggood, and for a lot of the world, Banggood is the only place to take an order from. So, yeah. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out, friends. Happy 420. I hope you guys are relaxed, chilled out, and coughing your asses off. Veritas Weasel gets the last question. For my Jumper T-Light, where would you recommend I buy my 18650 batteries? What brand? Who should I buy FPV components from? Recommend a US company. Veritas Weasel, I have never bought or learned about 18650 batteries. I specifically avoid things in life that have 18650s because my battery charger for barrel-shaped batteries only uses AAAs and AAs. So everything that I buy it for AAs and AAAs rather than 18650s. So I have no idea, but the vape flat brim super cool dudes, I think they use 18650s in those box mod thingies. And so yeah, type like what 18650s should I get? Or, I don't know. If you have a box mod friend, child, ask them. They'll probably know all about 18650s. Thanks for hanging out, people. I don't know a thing about them. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be Whoop Wednesday. And tomorrow is when we're going to figure out for sure that the 4 hours I spent making those stupid-ass motor connector, whatever the hell they are, JST 1.0 to JST 1.25 converters was a complete waste of time. So tomorrow's going to be another... Last Wednesday was a very frustrating Whoop Wednesday, making those stupid goddamn adapters. Tomorrow is going to more than likely be a very frustrating Whoop Wednesday. So if you like to see people struggle on the internet, you're going to get your fill tomorrow. Maybe not. There's a chance that they're fine. Find out tomorrow. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Sly Robocop, Mechanical... it's rough, dead, SolidWorks, 2 weeks classes less, blah, 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 blah. You got it, Sly Robocop. You can do it, brother. Because remember...
諦めんなよ諦めんなお前どうしてそこでやめるんだそこでもう少し頑張ってみろよダメダメダメやめ諦めたら周りのことを思うよ応援してる人たちのことを思ってみろってあともうちょっとのところなんだから俺だってこのマイナス10度のところしじみが取れるって頑張ってんだよ絶対やってみろ必ず目標達成できるだからこそネバーギブアップ